So I have here the center portion of a beef tenderloin, what most people would call the Chateaubriand. I've trimmed it up myself. If you saw our other video, you saw how I did that. I will freely admit I'm not as good as a professional butcher. But the advantage of doing it yourself is you save about $6 a pound on this. This was about $12 a pound untrimmed at my local Costco. Trimmed, it was about $18. So for about 5 minutes of work, I saved myself about, I don't know, $50 on the entire roast. So that's a nice savings. What we're going to do is make a party platter out of that, a very thinly sliced tenderloin. You can slice it with a knife or with a professional slicer, whatever you have, but it's a great party thing to do around the holidays or anytime you have a special occasion, and it's very, very simple and practically foolproof. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to brown this up on all sides, then we're going to toss it into the oven. So let's go on over to the stove. So once our pan is nice and hot, we're going to put our filet and let it brown nicely on all sides. Okay, now that it's browned on all sides very nicely, I'm going to turn off the heat under the pan, season it very well with my seasoned salt blend and my seasoned pepper blend. I didn't want to do this before because the spices could burn. Now, the heat is off on the pan, no chance of that happening. Liberal amounts of salt and pepper on all sides. So now that it's browned and seasoned, we can put it on a tray. It's actually a foil-lined sheet pan with a rack. My oven has been preheated to 500 degrees, as high as it can go. I'm going to put it in the oven, turn off the oven, and let it sit for 1 hour. It's been about an hour now. We're going to take it out. Oh, looks great. Still really rare on the inside, very juicy, and we're going to let it rest for 20 minutes. After it rests, we can either carve it warm for like a roast for tonight, or we can put it in the refrigerator, let it chill, and slice it really thin tomorrow for a fantastic appetizer platter. That's what we're going to do, so hang on, we'll show you how to do that. We've had our tenderloin, center cut, Chateaubriand sitting in the fridge overnight. I've done a couple of things. During that prolonged sitting time, the temperature has had a chance to even out throughout the roast. So when we cut into it, it should be a perfect rare to medium rare. Remember, tenderloin doesn't have a lot of marbling, so you want it really a little bit less done than you would with a normal steak or roast. I don't think it's any good beyond medium rare. However, if it's undercooked to your liking, you can certainly treat this the way you would a turkey breast, which also has no marbling. And if you look at our turkey stock to the rescue video, you'll find you can use that as a solution for either undercooked or overcooked meat. If it's undercooked, slice the meat, put it in a pan of warm stock. In this case, you'd use beef stock to bring the temperature up a little bit if it's undercooked. If it's overcooked and dry, doing the same thing certainly won't make it rare again, but it will give it a little more moisture. So let's cut into this baby and see how we did. Always an exciting mystery. I think that's perfect. That's evenly pink throughout. You see there's that ring around the outside from when we seared it, but it is definitely not raw. It is cooked. It is medium rare throughout. Again, if that's underdone to your liking, go ahead and put it in a pan of stock, warm stock. You could give it more time in the oven. We gave this an hour in the oven after we shut it off. Last time I did it, for 2 hours, it came out gray all the way through, and that's not what you want. For a tenderloin like this, I think this is the perfect degree of doneness. We're going to slice this and put it on a platter, but let's set up the platter first. I think it looks really nice on a bed of shredded lettuce. So I have a nice head of romaine here that I'm going to shred fairly finely. So we have a really nice platter here with a couple of nice dishes for our condiments and sauces, which I think the roast beef, the tenderloin really needs because it doesn't have a huge amount of flavor on its own. It's not like a prime rib or a New York strip. So we're going to set the empty dishes where we're going to put the sauces in the middle of the platter, and then we can mix up the lettuce to get the dark in with the light and scatter that around but we'll clean this up before we serve. And of course, the meat will be covering most of this. Okay. You may not be great with a knife. I'm not. I'm okay. But you can use a nice long slicer and slice it as thinly as you possibly can. Just like that, okay? That's beautiful. Now, if you have a slicer, and I happen to have a couple of them, you can use that. That will give you very even, very thin slices. I understand that a lot of people don't have slicers, so the knife method is just fine. But I'm going to slice the rest of this on the slicer and arrange that around the plate. Once it's been sliced, you can just start laying the slices out nicely, overlapping. It's amazing how far this goes when you slice it really, really thin. If you have some slices that aren't beautiful, you can just bury those on the bottom layer and no one will see them when you present the platter. And if you have any that look really horrible, you can just save them and eat them. So now the meat is laid out, but we have to put the sauces in. We left the bowls there so it will leave a nice space. So I'm going to do 2 sauces. And you can certainly buy these in the store if you didn't want to make them yourselves. I'm going to do a wasabi mayonnaise and I'm going to do a horseradish ketchup, really a seafood cocktail sauce. Sounds a little weird, but it's fantastic with this roast beef. Overall, I'd say about 3/4 of a cup of ketchup and at least a tablespoon of horseradish. Whisk that up. You know, I'm going to kick this up a little more with a touch of Tabasco. We'll take about 3/4 of a cup of mayonnaise and in with a good shot of Asian mustard or wasabi powder or wasabi paste. Any one will do. They're all basically the same because the wasabi you're likely to find here in the States is not real wasabi. This happens to be the very yellow Chinese hot mustard. And in it goes. And there you have a fantastic platter for any holiday celebration. Roast tenderloin with 2 sauces. Really easy to do, almost no work at all.